Hey everyone, my name's Carter and I'm going to be doing my video assignment on women's roles in video games. And basically I'm going to bite the bullet right now and I'm going to apologize for the audio slips that you're probably going to hear so far in this video, as well as the many words that I screw up. So I'm not really the best on camera, but then again not many people are, but you know, there's not really much I can do about it, so enjoy.
The role of women has been very prevalent in gaming. Since the industry has been highly controlled by men from the start, women's roles in gaming have seemed to become secondary to men in regards to story and creation of the characters. And while it has improved over the years, it's very hard to come by a female video game character whose breasts don't outweigh their head like watermelons.
But with that being said, women's roles in gaming have evolved in more meaningful ways. But then again, it could be seen another way. I mean, take a good look at female characters you see in gaming. And look at their personality traits, the way they act, and the way they dress. You could argue that a large amount of female characters could be categorized into a few archetypes. I've created 3 basic ones that you can use as examples. The first one is damsels.
Damsels are the characters who, in one way or another, require some form of rescuing. This is remnant of how women were portrayed back in the 50s and 60s according to a male's perspective. Princess Peach from Super Mario is an absolute perfect example of a damsel character, as well as Fiona from Haunting Ground.
The next archetype is the badasses.
Female characters in this category are a lot more common to come across in more recent games nowadays. Female characters in this archetype can be seen as very strong-willed individuals who command respect from their peers and other characters. Many badasses can be seen as main heroines like Jill Valentine from Resident Evil, or could be considered main villains such as Shodan from System Shock.
And last but not least, this one could be viewed as the most brutal: sexploitation.
Sexploitation characters are pretty much built for the purpose of sexualization for the minds of men. You can tell this from the types of clothes these characters wear, to certain things they say, or that other characters say to them, as well as the overfocusing on certain body parts such as the breast and ass, so much to the point that the whole sexualization of the character becomes that of a joke throughout the game.
You can name off a number of different female characters that fit this category pretty well, like Juliet Starling from Lollipop Chainsaw, Mad Moxie from Borderlands, but in my opinion, one of the ones that pretty much fits it completely is the Dead or Alive series. And that's not because of the game itself, that's because of what this series bred, which is an alternate side series known as Dead or Alive Extreme, which basically takes all the female characters from this game, basically drops them off into a beach location with wearing nothing but bikinis, and then allows them to run free and do whatever they want, play things like volleyball, touch each other sensually, and do shameless pole dances. It pretty much is every guy's wet dream.
It actually gets pretty disgusting to see just how shameless these characters really are. It's to the point where they start to push women's rights in the complete opposite direction.
With that being said, damsels, badasses, and sexploitation could be used to start a good 70 to 80% of all female video game characters. And seeing as how the gaming industry has changed so much since the early 80s, not just with its content but with its gaming audience in general, that's rather confusing to look at.
I mean, female gamers are common ground nowadays in the industry, and with that many women interested in video games, how is it that the majority of women's roles in video games are becoming more and more generic?
Well, let me give my theory on this. How many female game developers and programmers are there in the industry? I mean, if you take a look, it's actually a lot more slim than you'd think. I mean, hell, one of my good friends is in 3rd year game programming, and his class has only 1 female programmer in it. One. Alright, and if there aren't that many female programmers or developers, then that means that the majority of developers and programmers are male. Then that means that there is a much larger chance of men being given the work of creating a female character. And let me tell you, many men and women do not think alike.
See, that's one of the main problems. When someone is told to create a character, that character has to be made effectively, with a personality that makes them relatable. Being able to relate to a character is one of the main signs of a strong character overall, because it makes them seem more human and believable in the eyes of the viewer. When a male is given the job of creating a female character, it can be a lot tougher because men relate more to other men, not always women. There are certain exceptions, but this is a general rule.
In conclusion, it seems as though the role of women in video games, while it's improved substantially over the years, has also started to become generic in a certain sense. There needs to be somewhat of a change in the way females are perceived in gaming. We shouldn't be able to categorize it into archetypes, like damsels, badasses, and sexploitation. We need to start seeing more human females in gaming, ones that show the improvement of women's rights over the decades and can reflect wholeheartedly. And there needs to be a lot more female game developers and programmers in the industry who can help create these characters in a true light, not by sexualization. This has happened before. Some female gamers, or some programmers, female programmers, have made some pretty great games, like the Uncharted series and Deus Ex Human Revolution. So it's not impossible. Don't get me wrong, there has been a lot of change over the years, but in my opinion, things can always improve. So if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go play some video games.